Hello, everyone. My name is Emma Royal, and you are?
I'm Eric Chandler.
And we are going to do a presentation, and let me get into, whoa, that did not work. So I'm going to screen share our presentation. Can you see it?
It's all black. I had it before.
You don't see anything.
Uh-uh.
Stop sharing. Okay, so.
You again. There we go.
Got it. Okay, so we are presenting on a social campaign, Enough is Enough. And who we are is a youth-led movement, and we're empowering youth voice. We are outraged by the epidemic of school shootings, and we want to change Oregon gun laws. We intend to make an impact by gathering youths together and leading town halls. We started with the March for Our Lives campaign, which was 1 month after the Parkland shooting. And that momentum is what is driving the social movement of Enough is Enough. We have a lobby day, which we did a mock lobby day in May. And what we are wanting to do is amend ORS 166.470, which is to increase the minimum gun law purchasing age to age 21.
So why are we here? Well, one of the main reasons that we wanted to do this campaign is that the current policies that are out there really don't have any impact on the safety or the culture of the violence that's going on in our school campuses. And we realized in our discussions that what's been going on is adults have been making all the decisions, yet the children haven't really had a voice. And what we've recognized that happened in February was the students rose up and said, you know what, we're here, we're the victims, we want to say, we want adults to take our opinions into consideration, and we want to have laws changed to make us safer in school. And so we wanted to build on that voice and look at strengthening gun laws specifically here to Oregon, that in an effort to limit access through the changing of the gun purchasing age to 21. And we really were demanding some legislative action. We wanted to go to the legislators and have them look at Oregon Revised Statute 166.7 or .470 and really look at, is 18 years old really an appropriate age to purchase long guns, which are rifles, and that includes semi-automatic assault type weapons such as the AR-15, which has been used in quite a few shootings, and change that to 21 across the board for all firearms. And we want to spread that information out and really look at, do we need to measure by gathering signatures and getting that on the ballot to amend that ORS.
So what we've found is the statistics on school shooting deaths outnumber soldiers killed in combat in the Middle East. So it is estimated in the 17 years that the United States has waged war in Afghanistan and Iraq, 6,926 soldiers have died. And compare that to 77,460 young people who have been killed in gun violence in schools since December of 2012. So that far outweighs, if you're looking at gun violence in the last 6 years in school shootings compared to the last 17 years in war. And this is a startling statistic. And so building on this outrage of this number is, this problem is not going away. We did the March for Our Lives campaign 1 month after the Parkland shooting, where 17 students were killed, and we students and teachers, and we staged a 17-minute walkout. Less than 1 month after this March for Our Lives campaign, another school shooting occurred in Santa Fe, Texas, where 10 people were murdered. There have been 20, Did you want to add something there, Eric?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, also in our findings that I think we get that just simply wanting to raise the minimum gun purchasing age to 21 is not going to be an end to violence in schools. But what we wanted to look at was how can we limit access and make it harder for these things to occur? And that we get that just this amendment is not going to be enough.
So looking, we have some infographics that which we're not going to be sharing, but it really points to the mounting numbers of people who are dying in these shootings. And one of the aspects of gun laws is that the brain is still developing, and the decision to like that shutoff valve of deciding whether or not it's okay to go ahead and shoot a gun in a situation. That trigger is not really set in place until around 25. And the military does capitalize on that in the immature brain development and in teaching soldiers how to kill in combat. So it's kind of like a slippery slope here when we're talking about the legal age to shoot a gun. You're trained in a military situation in combat, and then we're also like encountering the NRA, and which is one of our strongest political contributors. So when we're exploring this process of the current social movement, we focused on the Parkland shooting, and that's what inspired that voice to come out. There were approximately 1.5 million students nationwide who stood up and demonstrated in this March for Our Lives. This is such a large area to talk about. We had to kind of narrow it down to the specifics of taking the guns out of the equation for the age range between 18 and 21. Some of the policymakers' ideas of tackling this issue was using a threat assessment or a mental health assessment. Well, this is something that would help in the long term. The reality is that most of these shooters are not they don't have a mental illness. So it's like it negatively stigmatizes youth who have mental health challenges. The state gun laws minimum purchase age is the area that we wanted to focus on.
So just to add a little bit more regarding our process, our discussion really took a long time because, as Ima said, the subject area is huge, and we didn't know really kind of where we wanted to focus. And so finally, we sort of said, okay, it's such a huge issue. Let's start slicing this down and looking at it piece by piece. And that's where we were starting to explore specific school gun policies. We looked at threat assessments and mental health assessments as they relate to school gun violence. And then we made the decision to look at Oregon state laws and specifically focus clear down on just tackling the minimum purchasing age, just to sort of clarify a little bit.
So within this process, there are challenges with working in a group. We had several things going for us that worked well. Because there's just two of us, there's less complication, and we were able to find a time to meet, weekly Google Hangout, and have like Google Docs, and just our communication seemed to be pretty streamlined, and just having that consistent meeting helped to alleviate anxiety. And we both have like strengths that support each other, where I'm more of a big chunk thinker and he's more detailed, and it, I think, help focus each other. We were like, I think that we were kind of ahead of ourselves, And that the challenge was to kind of slow the process down. And another struggle was in the beginning, the topic was so vast and the problem is so large, and there's just so many different arguments. To tackle all the aspects of this issue would just be way too large for the scope of the project for this class. Another struggle is really how do we know we have the youth voice? So this was sort of a mock situation, and we were not involved in a social campaign organizing with youth. In reality, this is sort of like looking at what the structure would look like, really understanding that empowerment of youth voice and making sure that all youth have a say in this. So in some of the town hall meetings, the leaders were people who came from private schools, who have access to most likely more privileged students of color, may not be as represented in this dynamic. Another struggle was, though it was helpful to get feedback from peers in other groups, it was because the scope was so large, it was hard to incorporate that feedback in a streamlined way. And then, as we all know, like creating this momentum to continue to move forward as we're getting ready to graduate and all these other things that we're juggling, maintaining that initial momentum of energy was somewhat challenging, but overall, I thought that the process went very well.
I did too. And you know, the other area in struggling was not only just incorporating the feedback from our cohorts, which was immense and great feedback, but also sort of Ima and I having one voice collectively in our professional paper. I would write a section and she would write a section, and you know, it was just going back and revisiting and revising and editing and making sure that our scope and direction was and got there. I mean, but it was a struggle at first.
Yeah, I mean, this really gave me like a taste for what group work looks like. I mean, if other groups that had 5 members, I couldn't imagine trying to incorporate all those voices. But in reality, when we engage in this work in the community, if we're in a social movement, we're going to have to make sure we stop and digest the voice and digest the views, and like this process would be a lot slower in a real life setting.
I'll go ahead. I think what we would do differently is we would, again, it was really challenging to narrow down our area of focus, and I think that we would have a process that was more streamlined and organized in narrowing that focus. And eventually we did get there. And I think that the other piece of our policy campaign that we needed to do a better job on, if we had more time, would be to incorporate the greater voice of the students that we wanted to build our campaign around, and kind of yoke their strength into making our policy brief really powerful and making our campaign voice stronger. And then just really we needed to do some better research into the ballot measure process itself. That really wasn't going to be the focus of our campaign. And then kind of halfway through, Ima and I were talking and we're like, God, you know, it would be really cool if we could gather people together and sort of create a team that could go out and research the ballot measure process and get signatures and really sort of make the power of the people to amend this law, this statute, on our own, and not seek out legislative approval, which, you know, we all know is heavily influenced by the NRA and other aspects.
So we're at the end of our presentation. Go ahead and respond to our post. We welcome feedback, and that is it. Thank you.
Thank you.